Gamestork, delivering news, reviews, and playthroughs like a newborn baby.
Hey, what's up guys? This is the Gamestork coming at you to talk about some cool stuff. Sounds like such an official intro, doesn't it? Anyway, so we're just going to be talking about some things I hadn't really had a chance to get on here and talk about, like the rumored reiteration of the Nintendo Switch, which they're saying will be the Nintendo Switch Pro, a couple games that are coming, the Super Mario Party hype, and things like that. And to be honest with you, I'm not surprised about the Super Mario Party hype, because that game, especially being put on a system with such an amazing push for multiplayer greatness, is just fantastic. Not to mention the Switch-to-Switch games are being praised by different sites and saying that these things are just really technologically great. So looking at this, first of all, I just kind of want to discuss the possibility of the Nintendo Switch Pro. These things have been rumored for quite a while, and it only makes sense because although the Tegra X1 chip is good, we know that there are new chips constantly being put out, and as new come onto the market, the ones that are upgraded get cheaper. So considering there is a new chip coming onto the market, the upgraded, which offhand I don't know the name, I'm not looking at my computer right now, but the upgraded chip, you guys can let me know in the comments, which is not an X2, there's an actual name for it. It's much better. It's a little bit around where the PlayStation 4 would be, which is great. It might be a little bit past, under the Pro, above the 4, and if the Nintendo Switch had that type of power, I think it would be great. Now, let's start first talking about remodeling the Nintendo Switch, the outside, the frame of this thing, and really all the other pieces that we're looking at. People wanted the Joy-Cons like an extra large option. I think that would be really good. I personally don't play with the Joy-Cons whenever my Switch is docked. I play with the Pro Controller religiously. However, when I am holding the Nintendo Switch, I have figured out a somewhat comfortable way to hold it with the current Joy-Cons, as small as they are, my big giant gorilla hands. So it's one of those things, I've gotten used to it and I dig it, I love it. However, if they did remodel the system, I could see them making this system a little bigger, and perhaps reinforcing some of the frames somehow. I'd read rumors about them doing different things to create color on the screen and stuff like that to reduce heat, and that's a possibility. But ultimately, the screen crack, the back housing of the console cracking and things like that, those have to be solved. The bending of the Nintendo Switch has to be solved. The docking issue there with that has to be solved. And this is something that I don't think is too difficult, and for them to remodel this console on the outside, it isn't too far-fetched, because let's look at the 3DS. The reality of that situation is that the 3DS has been reinvented with a new Nintendo 3DS that's more powerful, and in spite of what some people are saying about it being too early and the 20 million people who have bought in are being screwed over or whatever, I disagree. I think that, especially considering you have some momentum in the market coming in, really at this point, only 20 million consoles in, and doing an upgrade now will boost your sales later. If you can honestly claim that your console can keep up with the PS4 from this point on, this brings third parties over, the portability factor of this console is what dominates the market. And even dominating the market, this is, even having the lesser of the games as far as performance, let's face it, the Nintendo Switch is a win-win thing. People love it. They want more of it. And doing something like that, like this reiteration, to me makes sense, because the next 80 million people that purchase this console are going to buy all the third-party games. They'll see the third-party support, and it's only that small difference in performance that's keeping a lot of individuals from taking that next step. Now, upgrading this, I don't know what that would require. I'm not really certain. I don't know how big it would be. However, it's not like the Nintendo Switch would already fit in your pocket. This isn't really a pocket thing. It's not something that you can just kind of tuck away in your front pocket and go about your school day or college or whatever. You have to have a dedicated case because it's already somewhat of a large system. Now, I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. I've accepted it, and as part of my daily ritual, I carry around my Nintendo Switch, and not only that, the case. So I'm fine with that. But as far as like them actually pushing out a new reiteration of this, the physical casing and things like that, the design, I'm okay with that. The screen itself, I think it looks great at 720. Putting a 1080p screen that small is going to put this thing up very expensive. I've seen people just repeatedly compare this to, wow, my Galaxy S7 can play blah, blah, blah. Yes, but you paid $1,000 for that. So this is a $300 console where they're going to try to keep it around $300. Now, if they upped it $100 for a reiteration that's as powerful as the PS4, go ahead and get ready because it's over. But, you know, speaking of power in this console, though, just imagine what we would be able to do, because the way that their first-party games are, you know, programmed and rendered, they would just look better and better with more power. Not to mention, third parties on the Nintendo Switch might bring about the next, you know, SNES era, which this could be one of the absolute greatest consoles ever if this rumor is true. If Nintendo is really going to pull the trigger on this upgrade, putting the better hardware and whatever honestly is necessary to do. They already have a back catalog of games where they could include a game now. You know, they could include 1-2 Switch. I know it's not that great of a game, but they could throw in something to just really make it worth the buyer's while. Not to mention they've already made their initial sales off of those games. So they could toss one of those in. Now, I think this is wise no matter how you put it. I don't think that it's too early. I think it's right on time. Me personally, as someone who's purchased 2 Nintendo Switches already, I could see myself replacing those and passing on the original Nintendo Switches that I have to my other 2 children who already love playing them and want their own. Now, this is it's honestly one of those things. I think that Nintendo will do this eventually. Will they do it this soon? I don't know. With the rumors of the PlayStation 5 coming next year and being announced at E3 and things, I think that Nintendo would be wise if they're doing a hardware upgrade to do it as soon as possible. Announce it as soon as you can and launch this bad boy in 2019 before the PS5. Like March of 2019 will be a perfect time. I think it would just be great. I don't know. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping for the best. You guys let me know how you feel about this below. I mean, would you be willing to reinvest in the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch Pro? Would you want the Joy-Cons to be bigger? What changes would you expect out of the console? Now, another thing I really want to touch on is the fact that Super Mario Party is generating a lot of buzz. I'm really excited about this because I honestly believe that this is a game that never really got its due. It was one that I sit and play. I played over the course of all these games hundreds of hours, had tons of fun, got angry a million times, and these are just wonderful games outside of the one that just came out on Wii U. Now, this new one looks great. It looks like it's returning to form. It looks like it's going to be one to where with online play added, with the functionality to play switch to switch, I could just see hundreds of hours being put into this one. Seems like there's a lot of content, plenty of mini games, and lots of things to be super excited about. Not to mention that this game is right around the corner. I mean, this game is coming out in about a month and a half, and it's so awesome to see something so great coming. It doesn't necessarily have the biggest marketing campaign or anything like that, but when you begin looking at the end of the year and you talk about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you talk about Pokemon, Let's Go Pikachu, and Let's Go Eevee, this one typically is not mentioned in those top first-party games. But let's face it, this is a great game. The replay value of these games are phenomenal. I still play the ones off the N64 and the GameCube and everything. So I play as much of these as I can because I think they're absolutely fantastic, super fun. And this not only be a great game for the Nintendo Switch, but it's a great game for all those who are seeking that multiplayer fix on a console, which is most of us, right? I mean, that's honestly what we want. Is we want to see something that's great, something that's multiplayer, and something that we can really sink our teeth into and just play and feel rewarded as we play. Now, I've played a lot of great couch co-op games here recently, But this is one that I really, really want because like my wife and my daughter, who don't normally play games, they play this game and they're relatively good at it. So, you know, there's a lot of competition and things like that. So this is something that I honestly am super excited about. Not to mention them showing off about the hardware advancements, stuff like that. And as far as pushing the two Nintendo Switches together is what I'm speaking about. And it's really cool. It's really cool that this could do that. It's super neat. I don't really know how else to say how great this is going to be. And you know me, I like to be positive about just about everything. But when it comes to games like this, it's hard not to be negative. I mean, it's hard not to be positive. It's hard to try and be negative about something. I think the only thing that perhaps we could be negative about is the fact that there's no Pro Controller support. But as we know, there's a purpose for everything. We haven't played the game yet, so we can't say whether or not that would be a good thing for the title. It could be terrible. It could play very badly, and that's probably why it is how it is. There's this other great game that's coming. It's Persona Q2 for the Nintendo 3DS, and I just want to say I wish that would come to the Switch. Nintendo 3DS has legs still. I know it's dying off, but you know, it has such a strong library that it's going to last for a while, and it's actually surprised me at how long Nintendo is going to continue supporting this thing. And it just seems like one of those things. Yes, it's going to get some love because of how many people own it. You know, it's a lot of people. It's like 80 million people. So I can understand games coming on there, but I wish, like Captain Toad did, I wish they would do the opposite and give Switch owners the that possibility of purchasing that title for the Nintendo Switch. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to upres it, but who knows? I don't really know what goes into the process, so perhaps maybe it's difficult, or perhaps it's a marketing thing. Bethesda was talking about Rage 2 for the Nintendo Switch, said they would love to do that. It seems like Bethesda is, surprisingly, 2 years ago, looking at Nintendo and Nintendo platform and stuff, I would have never said, or even a year ago, I just would never said, Bethesda's just going to go all in on a Nintendo console. But it looks like they really kind of have. They want Rage 2 on the Switch, but they just don't really think it's going to work on the system. I've looked and just read rumors so much and all this inside information about all these third-party games that they're trying to get on the Switch. And really, to me, what this says is Nintendo, if they're really listening to the players and they're really working with these third parties, it means that reiteration of the hardware has to be coming much sooner than later. Because if they want games like Rage 2, if they want side-by-side releases of third-party games that are big games that need power in order to run, I can honestly see them releasing this sooner than later. I was hoping, and I'm still hoping, that they have some secret game that's going to launch with the Nintendo Switch Online. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but I'm still crossing my fingers like, hey, here's, I don't know. It could be anything. Yeah, it could be a reiteration like, let's see, I don't know. For some reason, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that they could launch with that would work really, really well. We could all work together building some levels in Mario Online, but I guess it depends on how great the Nintendo Switch Online is. I'm sure it's as good as the Wii U, so we could play that Mario title. That would be good. But I don't know. There are a lot of options, I guess, third party and everything else. I never thought I'd see Crash Bandicoot on this, on a Nintendo console, but here we are. So there are tons of things that could come out. Perhaps Warframe's one of those. But I would love to see, like, surprise, we created a version of, Pocket Camp that you can now play on your Nintendo Switch from Animal Crossing, or just something like that. Not that I'm just a huge supporter of them continuing, mobile ports, but it seems like something that it just kind of makes sense. It's one of those, push everything that you can right now while you're working on those big secret games. I don't think we're necessarily going to hear a ton about it. It seems like they're really banking on the sales from Nintendo, mixture of Nintendo, Nintendo Pokemon, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. They're really focused in on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and then Christmas, overall Christmas sales and holidays. I think they're going to clean up, but I don't know if they're going to hit their number that they wanted to without those other games, unless they have something big planned January, February, or March, which could be anything from Yoshi to you name it. So if they hit it really hard this fiscal year from them releasing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and just keep going, then sure, fine, perhaps they can hit that number. You really never know. Maybe, Nintendo said on their investor call that they kind of had something up their sleeve that they haven't announced, and that's why I'm still holding out hope. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this little chat. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, whatever you're doing, and we'll see you next time.